Just so you know, this show is about scary stuff. So don't say I didn't warn you guys. And remember, don't be scared.
Episode 47 Battleground. War Baby here with another episode of Murderous Minors. Being the parent of a child with a chronic illness adds an entirely new level of stress to life. A foreign kind of worrying I wouldn't wish on another mom or dad. Ask any parent and they will tell you that they've lost sleep over their child's well-being at some point in their lives. A bad illness, a broken bone, or emergency surgery is part of many childhoods, sending parents into emotional frenzies and fretting about their long-term health. Well, that's the level of worry that parents of chronically ill children, like type 1 diabetics, live with on the daily. Couple that with the stress of the child who just wants to go back to how they were before their life-altering diagnosis. Change just sucks. On this episode of Murderous Minors, we revisit the Thanksgiving mystery episode of last year about Logan Mott. The murder of 53-year-old Kristina French took place at Thanksgiving of 2017, and when we covered Logan's harrowing capture and arrest in 2018, the case hadn't yet come to finality. Well, now, at Thanksgiving 2019, I have new details on this case as Logan Mott awaits his sentence. He originally pled not guilty to second-degree murder and grand theft auto, but on September 18, 2019, the now 17-year-old changed that plea to guilty. The sentencing hearing began on October 12th and lasted more than a month and a half, with weeks between testimony at times. But let's start at the beginning. Logan Tyler Mott was born August 21, 2002, to Carrie Campbell Mott and Eric Mott, now a corrections lieutenant with the Jacksonville, Florida Police Department. The pair met while in the Navy and struggled with fertility issues before their only child's birth. By 2004, the pair had split, with Carrie moving to Missouri. They shuttled Logan between from the ages of 2 and 5, when Eric took custody so Logan could start school. Carrie had custody during the summer and winter holidays. Per their own admissions and testimony, their entire divorce and custody battle was tumultuous and emotional for everyone involved. Eric and Carrie just didn't seem to see eye to eye when it came to raising their son. She said his discipline towed the line of abuse. He said she spent her days in bed and accused her of being neglectful.
How was she with coping and raising Logan?
Not great. There was a lot of times that she wouldn't get out of bed for, half the day, or she was focused on, she had a lot of big kind of dreams that never really worked out.
The familial tension reached a boiling point the summer Logan was 10. During a seemingly normal trip to the zoo with his mother and grandparents, Logan had a slushy treat just like a million other kids do on hot days. Unbeknownst to everyone, however, Logan was suffering from undiagnosed type 1 diabetes, sometimes called juvenile onset diabetes. Logan began exhibiting symptoms of diabetic ketoacidosis. His blood sugar got too high because his body was not producing enough insulin. He had to be airlifted, and Eric used this incident to accuse Carrie of neglectful parenting. Logan could have died. Following his stabilization and return to Florida, Logan and Eric's relationship only further deteriorated as the stress of living daily with a chronic condition set in. For Logan, his diagnosis was the end of his life and his dreams. All he ever wanted was to join the military and show his father that he was a man to be proud of. But now, at the fresh young age of 10 years old, Logan Mott had to deal with an existential crisis for the ages. The path he had once had for his life had been erased, and he didn't have a backup. There was no plan B. Eric and Logan had contact with the Department of Children and Family Services on multiple occasions from the time Logan was 12 to the time of his arrest at 15. He was accused by Carrie of excessive punishment, such as making Logan run until he vomited. She reported bruises visible outside of where Logan's clothing covered. 2 other reports were made by school employees upon seeing bruises. However, none of these claims could be substantiated.
The experience for Logan as a child and an adolescent was that he lived in a battleground that continued, that it was not over with the court's resolution of the custody dispute when he was 5, and that it wasn't over with the division of responsibility that his parents had been ordered. And that experience of living in a battleground was traumatic and continued to be influencing him. It affected his self-esteem, and it affected his definition of himself because of his different identifications with each parent.
To further complicate matters, Logan felt he was living under the microscope in terms of his diabetes management. Eric was militant in his monitoring of Logan's blood glucose levels. He was fitted with a device that set frequent real-time readings to his dad's phone. This allowed Eric Mott to know of any fluctuations and approach his son accordingly about what he was eating and whether he was dosing his insulin correctly. And basically, this infuriated Logan, and he began to dislike his father. In addition to their problems, he also had to deal with his parents' constant disagreements. Carrie thought Eric watched Logan too closely. She felt that he needed to learn how to manage this disease he would be dealing with for the rest of his life. Eric thought Carrie didn't pay enough attention to their son, and when Logan ended up being hospitalized a second time while with his mom, Eric felt his point had been proved. Throughout Logan's entire childhood, Eric's mother Kristina had been there, and so had her husband, Eric's stepdad. She moved to Florida because she wanted to see Logan grow up. Kristina herself had endured a difficult childhood and moved in with her uncle and aunt when she got pregnant with Eric at the age of 15. Logan's grandparents had even lived with them for a while, and he looked to the pair for the kind of attention and support he wasn't always receiving from his sparring parents. But not long after his type 1 diagnosis, they divorced, and his step-grandfather moved away, severing contact altogether. By the time he reached Fletcher Middle School, Logan had to visit the nurse's office several times per day to have his blood glucose levels monitored. He began spending his lunch periods there and developed a deep bond with the school nurse, Barbara DeLifus. He considered her his best friend. Miss DeLifus described at his hearing the range of topics they discussed. What she said was an interest in other countries and governments, the prosecution ultimately described as communist sympathies, and an admiration of socialist principles. Police found evidence that Logan asked members of a communist chat room about ways to hide a body and kept them abreast of developments on the day he killed his grandma. When middle school ended and Logan went on to Sandalwood High School, he was lonely. He missed his friend deeply, and his days just weren't the same. But he did have a girlfriend, and from January through the fall of 2017, they were happy. But then, just like that, they weren't. According to Logan, his girlfriend and her family had visited him in Missouri while he spent the summer with his mom. After she left, she sent him racy images that he said he wasn't comfortable with and that he says he didn't expect from her at all. When his parents got wind, they said he couldn't see her anymore. Back in Florida, the pair continued to date, but his girlfriend would dump him, then take to Instagram to humiliate him publicly. Logan told clinical psychologist Marty Beyer, who evaluated him for a total of 11 hours, that she broke his heart. The contents of that post weren't made public, but classmates said after his arrest that his ex-girlfriend had at some point accused him of hitting her and raping her. A 15-year-old freshman at Sandalwood High School, diabetic Logan Mott developed a drinking problem. By November of 2017, the teen was routinely drinking vodka. For the previous 4 years, 53-year-old Kristina French had been director of operations of the Florida office of the nonprofit May Institute, where she advocated for individuals on the autism spectrum. In the days leading up to her murder, co-workers reported that Kristina had tearfully reported finding Logan in the bathtub, drunk on vodka. His dad away on vacation and Logan her responsibility, Kristina was reaching out for help, but it was too late. The defense would claim at sentencing that not only was Logan drunk, but the alcohol's effect on his blood glucose levels caused him to act erratically and accidentally shoot his grandmother. The prosecution countered that this was ridiculous. The police report indicated that a female classmate said Logan had texted her on that fateful day, claiming he had shot a woman, execution style, leaving a bloody scene. How could that be an accident? That report also said he told another friend that, quote, "About my grandmother, just pretend she was never born, okay? Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to." Running away was the motive, the state said, and with Eric out of town, the only obstacle was Kristina. Monday and Tuesday, November 20th and 21st, 2017, Logan and Kristina were absent from school and work, though Eric did receive texts confirming the arrangement to pick him and his girlfriend up from the airport on Wednesday, but no one showed up or answered their phones. Upon returning home to Neptune Beach, Florida, they found an open front door, a ransacked home, 2 missing guns, and 2 missing people. Logan and Kristina were nowhere to be found. At 2:11 p.m. on Wednesday, November 22nd, 2017, Lieutenant Mott called 911 to report a possible burglary, along with 2 missing persons. It was the day before Thanksgiving.
You think you have a patrol officer dispatched to my house? I know I've had a burglary, and my mom, who was supposed to be, we just got back from vacation, and my mom that was supposed to pick me up from the airport and my diabetic son are missing. Looking around the house, I just noticed my safe was, the keypad was ripped off it. It's all kind of a pretty concerning thing to keep.
Yeah, a little bit strange.
As you may recall, by Friday, November 24th, 15-year-old Logan Mott had driven his grandmother Kristina French's Dodge Dart over 1,000 miles from Neptune Beach just outside of Jacksonville, Florida, all the way to Buffalo, New York, where he was apprehended attempting to cross the border into Canada. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol initially encountered him as he entered the Peace Bridge in downtown Buffalo going the wrong direction.
What's your last name? Mott, M-O-T-T. M-O-T-T. First name? Logan. Date of birth? 8/21/02. You were born in the U.S.?
Yes.
Have you had a passport?
Yes, I did have a passport.
What's your middle name?
Tyler. T-Y-L-E-R.
All right. You need to put both your hands on your steering wheel where I can see them, okay? Don't make any sudden moves, all right? You understand me?
Yeah.
So you have rest